handle.
You want answers.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
I'm telling you, man. I don't know how I can do this. I don't know how good I can. Okay, I really don't. I don't know, man. I need an award somewhere. Okay, I need a coffee. Okay, no. This is ridiculous, dude. What were you wearing? Now, you got two FBI agents. You got two FBI agents in there. You got an MGM attorney. And the only thing this dude can think of, because he hasn't asked any questions yet.
No.
The only biggest question that he could ask this dude, what were you wearing? Oh, excuse my language. God. Oh.
Okay.
Man, I'll tell you what. Hey, these guys, seriously, man, they must. There has to be, and I know that's a strong organization, the PD, strong organization across the board.
Yep.
Okay, but I bet you there is lessons learned if someone in some of these institutes are going through sworn statements and how to question, how to not, like Wicklander, Zulowski, or whatever their name is. You know, looking at the read technique and this, that, and the other. Nothing.
Yeah.
This is horrible.
Oh, it's bad.
This is a second detective and FBI guys. Go ahead, man. I'm on a soapbox. It's crazy.
Okay, so what do you think Shuck's answer is?
A pair of sweatpants and a sweater.
No, we already know. It was his engineer gear. He says, my engineering gear?
I said sweatpants because he has no belt with a sweatpants.
Well, I don't know where
And
he was.
No, that's what I'm saying. See,
Yeah.
so if that was the direction the cop was taking, yeah, I can understand. Okay,
Sure.
Maybe that's a little lead right there, a little clue.
Yeah.
Because he said he'd use a belt for the tourniquet.
And he almost did. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
So he says, Shuck says, my engineering gear. And the cop says, uh-huh. And Shuck says, and on my belt.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Because he was about ready to take his belt off.
Right. He said it.
Mm-hmm. He says, and on my belt, we have our fire-rated shirt, fire-rated pants. I wear boots, an undershirt, and JP, the detective, says, and what color are those?
What the hell is this guy doing?
And Shuck says, blue. It's a blue shirt up top, lighter blue, and then the pants are like a navy blue. JP says, the detective says, and
okay.
are there markings on it? Shuck says, I mean, this is. Shuck says, yeah. JP, the detective says,
Okay.
Mandalay Bay?
Oh my God.
Shuck says, yeah, Mandalay Bay. And my name is also, they're stitched on there. JP, the detective, says, okay. Shuck says, my name tags. And I also had, because I have a drill. I have a little mini drill.
He's described it. So he described the belt, and he's describing the drill without being asked.
Right. So he says, I had a little mini drill.
Right.
And I had it in my shirt pocket. It's almost as if the cop knew what he was supposed to say.
Right.
And is trying to ask him stupid questions to say it.
Right, to detail it, because he left it out.
Right. So anyway, he says, I have a little mini drill, and I had it in my shirt pocket. I had to carry a little tool pouch right here, where I don't know where that's at, but I thought it was a bad idea to put it. I thought it was a bad idea to put the tool pouch in there with all the police officers around. They might think it's a firearm. So I had the drill in my shirt pocket, and then I wear a belt with a radio on my left side and a flashlight in front of that, and then a flashlight holster and a little tool pouch, which is just like my go-to hand tools. Couple tools in there, and then my keys on the front of that. So JP, the detective.
That's a very long. Okay. I'm just saying. If you wear a uniform, okay, say fire inspector over here, a college or whatever, you wear a uniform, got keys. Some guy says, "So, what were you wearing?" I would just say, "Oh, my uniform." Okay. What color is it? I'd be like, "What the hell is this guy saying?" Okay, it's light blue with dark pants. What do you have to say? I'm not getting in detail on all this little stuff.
What's it have to do with the price of bread?
What does it have to do with the price of bread? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
My God.
So JP, the detective, says, okay, and what type of uniform was blank wearing? It's blacked out. I don't know who that is.
Right.
Oh, it must have been Jesus. Shuck says, black security guard uniform. It's a short sleeve. The pants, right.
He's describing it.
Kind of tapered, kind of tapered around the waist.
Yeah. Him and I go to the same seamstress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he says, black security guard uniform. It's a short sleeved, and the pants are long. The pants are long sleeved. I don't know what that means. And also it says security Mandalay Bay stitched to the shirt. Detective. I mean, it's a good detective here, right?
Okay, here you go. If someone asked me at the college that I would work for as that fire inspector, what does the police uniform look like? I'd be like, I think they wear this. Well, I don't know. And I sure wouldn't know if their name is on there or what it says embroidered unless I'd been there a very, very long time. Because you don't, it's not like you hang out with them.
Right.
And you're talking to Mandalay Bay. I mean, it's huge. They have so much they only do. You know what I'm saying? So
well, hey, man, he's only really seen Jesus in the hallway for a brief point in time.
He probably didn't know who Jesus was before this.
And then took off without Jesus. Yeah.
He was across the hall or down the hall in a shooting situation.
So the detective says, okay.
That's a common answer. That's a common answer. You better be happy that I didn't spit that all over your face.
So Shuck says, and I think the name is stitched into the other side.
Oh my God! Come on, this is my.
So JP says, so you were originally in 62-215 checking on a leak when your dispatcher and the radio. When your dispatcher and the radio about simultaneously were calling you, right? Remember, there was two.
Right.
He says, yes. JP says to go to the 32nd. Shuck says yes. JP says to handle. I mean, a lot of leading questions, right?
Right.
Handle a door that was secured. Do you remember approximately what time that was that you got the call? He goes, I think it was 10:05, 10:06.
Of course you do.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been.
All right.
So anyway, 10:05, 10:06, and I was 62-215. Just right down the hallway from the service elevators. course it
Yeah,
is.
of course.
All right.
Yep.
He says, okay.
Convenient. He says, okay.
Yeah. Shuck says, so I got down there.
So he's adding to it.
Right. And
He didn't add, he said, detective just said, okay.
Shuck said, okay.
Now Shuck wants to add to it.
Yeah. He says, so I got down there. JP says, so it was pretty quick. And Shuck says, pretty fast. Yeah. Because the fire exit door not opening is kind of an emergency. My initial thought is someone's going to start a fire or something, but maybe that door's stuck. Stuck like Shuck. So the detective says, okay. Shuck says, we have a lot of false emergency calls. Detective says, sure. Shuck says, on a weekly basis. The detective says, especially on a weekend. Shuck says, yeah. I mean, I could just see this. If we actually narrated this, it would be
Oh, my God.
horrible. So detective says, there's a ton of people in town for the concert. Shuck says, definitely. Detective says, I'm sure it's just crazy in here. Shuck says, yeah. Detective says, I would imagine, and a lot of service calls, I would imagine. Shuck says, yes.
These are all leading questions.
They're not even questions. He's just telling them.
He's just telling him something, and the guy's agreeing to it.
Yeah. Shuck says, the detective says, so the 200 hall is where the service elevators operate. Shuck says, yes. Lord. Detective says, and where, let's see. He says, and were they where you can get in and out, correct? Or they're where you can get in and out, the service elevators. Shuck says, yeah, at the end of and it gets cut off. Detective says, so they're at the very end, the service elevators. So just for the setup purposes, the end of the 100 hallway would be the end like 135. Shuck says yes. Shuck says all the ends are 135, 235, 335. Detective says okay. All right, okay. JP, the detective says, so the service elevator in the 200 would end by the 235. Shuck says yes. JP, the detective says, okay, gotcha. So when you exit on that end, you're all the way at the end and you have to walk towards the center where the guest elevator.
He's trying to put him out of the area.
Yeah. So Shuck,
and that's this is terrible.
So JP says, the detective says, and as you're walking down the 200 hall, and you're now on the 32nd floor, you've approached, and you've approached and you have a special name for it. Shuck says center core. JP says, the detective says, thank you.
Oh my God.
Shuck says, like the center of the, and JP, the detective says, yeah, I keep it.
Oh gosh.
The detective says, yeah, center core. As you approach the center core, you said it was silent, like you didn't hear anything. Well, that's what silent means, is you didn't hear anything. Shuck says, I did not. JP, the dispatcher, says, unusual.
JP, the detective.
Oh, detective. Yeah. Detective, sorry.
Yeah.
Getting these guys confused. So JP, the detective, says unusual. Shuck says, no, I didn't hear anything unusual. JP, the detective, says, so when you turn to walk down the 100, did you see, I'm assuming it's Jesus at that point. Shuck says, I saw, and I know it was him. He says, I know it was him now. He was someone was just poking their head out.
Right.
JP says,
Okay.
no, that's
No.
right.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!